What's up, cyberspace cadets? It's Irate Prostate here. It's Sunday, and you know what that's time for? Time for a wonderful treat that we give ourselves every Sunday, some ice cream. And in the studio today, I've got, it's going to be, I guess, what we're calling Beautiful Canadian Month, also known as Shocktober, in the Irate-sphere. Yeah, I want to get this out of the way. If you are subscribed to the Irate channel, Irate Prostate channel, and on any of the videos that I do, either past or in the future or current, and you're subscribed to the channel and you leave a comment, you're eligible for a drawing at the end of the month for a $20 Amazon gift card. And that may go higher. So, because I was given a gift, and I think it would be a good thing to share. So, anyway, with all that out of the way, I'm going to introduce the one and only lovely Makeup by Brooke, also known as Brooke, and I'm going to call her Brooke because that's her name. How are you doing today?
Pretty good so far.
All right, so so usually, you know, when I do this thing, the first thing that I ask people that that I interview is, all right, so what made you, what drew you to YouTube? Why did you come to YouTube? And what's the significance of your name and your avatar? I think that's kind of obvious, but so yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I decided to start a YouTube channel a few months ago. I haven't done any content yet because I don't have any of the programs or anything that I'd need for editing yet. But I wanted to do like makeup tutorials and stuff like that, and take requests from either friends or fans or like Twitter followers or whatever to do like characters or cosplay stuff and stuff like that. Started up a Patreon and all that to cover the cost of makeup and stuff. And possible travel time for certain things that I may be doing in the near future.
Oh, okay. So are you thinking about pursuing a career in theatrical, like special effects type makeup?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've already got 2 courses done. I've got my basics and my advanced stuff. So that's a lot of the theatrical stuff is already there. I just need to do my special effects, which I'm taking in January.
Oh, nifty. So you'll be working with like foam latex and silicone and some of those medium. That's cool. You know, when I was a kid, and this is the truth, I grew up aspiring to be a makeup artist in the movies, and but I went just into straight art after that. And I kind of, you know, wish I'd have stuck with it because, you know, they're doing so much stuff, and it's kind of a thing now. You know, I was looking at your picture on the teaser, the thumbnail, you know, for this episode of Ice Cream, and I noticed that you had these goggles on. Is that like a steampunk thing, or?
They're like cybergoth goggles. That was for, that picture was actually taken during a anime festival that we have in Calgary every year.
Ah.
Yes.
Yes. Well, cool. So, let's see. So, if it were a choice between horror, sci-fi, or fantasy, what would you have to say is your favorite?
As far as like makeup stuff goes, or movies in general?
You can break it down.
As far as movies, I'd say probably fantasy would be top of the list, like Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Definitely one of my favorite movie trilogies.
Yeah.
Then probably sci-fi and horror after that, as far as top 3 goes.
So, so you mentioned something about anime. Do you? I'm not really versed in anime, to be honest with you. But do you have a favorite anime show and a favorite anime character? You can answer that like in 2 parts. So, what's your favorite anime show?
The top 2, because I have a really hard time picking between these 2, would be Inuyasha and Death Note. Those were my, other than like Sailor Moon, those were my 2 introductions into more adult style anime.
Right. Now I am acquainted with Death Note, and I hated what Netflix did to it, but I've loved
Oh yeah,
everything.
that was an abortion of a movie.
I love the anime, and I love the even the live action stuff, the Japanese live action stuff that they did. I thought
Oh
it
yeah,
was really good.
those movies are phenomenal.
I love them. So a lot of people say, and it's like I didn't see anything that was wrong with them. I really like the characters. You know, the main character's name is, of course, escapes me, but you know he's
Light.
Light
Yagami.
and
Yagami.
yeah, and he, you know, is the exact opposite of the guy that they used in Netflix. You know, he was excelling, and he was in law school. He was good at tennis. You know, he was, you know, so it was interesting to see the cultural differences and the way that they chose that. You know, I think it was a bad pick. Now, if they would have said, just make it, you know, just a different Death Note story, I think that would have been more. You know, and to make me have some parallels, you know, use it that way, and then that way you could say it's a separate, you know, from the canon, because it just shit all over the canon stuff. But
absolutely, they destroyed Light's character completely, and L.
Yeah, no shit, because of and that we could probably do a whole show on that. We'll take that apart. How about that?
Oh yeah, definitely could.
So this, I wanted to get back, I digress and I apologize. But so, all right, out of the anime characters, who would you say was your favorite?
That's a really tough question. Oh God. A little bit of dead air while I think here. I can't think of that off the top of my head because there's so many that I really enjoy. Honestly, if I have to pick right now, I'd probably say L from Death Note. His character is phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And it's interesting because, you know, they kind of present him as I love the way the Japanese did that. You know, it's like they had characters that you would think would be opposites. You know, it would seem like that you know, Light would be the cop or the pursuant, you know, person, and that L would be. I mean, I'm sorry. L is it. Was the one that, you know, would be the one that would be the, you know, evil one, and would, you know, do it. But it was, you know, I like the way they flipped that. Anyway, so all right, all right. Here's a question I usually like to ask people: is there a food from your childhood that you just could not stand, but now that you're an adult, you really have an affinity for it? You actually like it?
Probably spicy stuff. I could never really eat spicy foods when I was younger. It was just like too much. I didn't like the spicy hot feeling, but I love spicy food now. I could eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner with no problem.
Cool.
But consequences be damned, basically.
That's right. That's right. I love hot stuff. I always have. Who would you say is was the most influential person on you during your childhood, growing up? I'll say that, growing up.
That would probably be my Uncle Will. He actually lived with me and my parents with his now wife when I was fairly young. I think I was like between the ages of like 2 and 6. Mm-hmm. And they lived in the basement suite that my parents had in their house. And I spent a lot of time down there hanging out with him and my Auntie Vic. And after they moved out and I got a little bit older, I got MSN, and we'd talk every single day, pretty much all day. Unless I was doing like schoolwork and stuff.
So what kind of influence did he have on you?
I feel like I definitely listened to him more than I did my parents for certain life lessons, I guess would be the easiest way to put that. Mm-hmm. He really influenced a lot of the music that I got into as I started growing up. He sent me a lot of different things, a lot of alt rock, a lot of stuff like from the early 90s, grunge rock, stuff like that. He really got me into Nirvana, Death Cab for Cutie, stuff like that.
Oh wow, Death Cab for Cutie. That's been I haven't heard that name in a while, man. Yeah, that's a good band. Cool. So it sounds like he was kind of is he the person that turns you on to anime and comics, things like that, or was that pretty much on your own?
No, that was pretty much me on my own. I was just watching stuff on the channels that we have here and came across a few things and started watching and just kind of fell in love with it and kept going.
Cool. Let's see. What about, all right, so, growing up as a kid, I don't know, I always, all the friends that I had and stuff, we all had our favorite, like, holiday, Christmas stories or cartoons or, children's stories, before the holidays. What was there one that stuck out to you that you loved and constantly, kind of go back to when it's on?
Well, around Christmas, me and my family always have our staple movies. We do both the cartoon and the Jim Carrey versions of The Grinch. The stop motion Rudolph, Old Frosty the Snowman, A Christmas Story, which my Nana actually showed me when I think I was like 10 when she watched that movie with me.
That's it's great. That's great. I love that too. All the stuff that you named is just really, my favorite's really The Grinch, when you boil down to it. That's pretty cool. So if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the age of 8, what would you tell yourself?
Probably don't do drugs.
Fair enough. I mean, did you have a negative experience that's put you on your back foot, earlier?
Well, there was always like good and bad things that came with that kind of environment and being around those people, and like I loved being in the rave scene in Calgary, but like you start getting into that and then you start doing the drugs with the people, and it really influences how you interact with people, and I just didn't like the person that I was becoming when I was doing that. And I could feel a little bit of addiction starting, so I just cut myself off.
Well, good. So it sounded like you had a pretty square head on your shoulders to begin with. Because I
was definitely one of the lucky ones. I saw it coming. I could feel the cravings, and I said, no, I'm done. I'm not becoming one of those people that's getting high at work and putting shit up my nose every day of the week and losing myself in that. I didn't want to do that to myself. I had way more self-respect than a lot of people around.
That's great. That's actually that's good to hear. I'm not positive as to your age group, but I would estimate that you're under 30.
Yes.
Am I correct?
I'm 24.
Okay. Wow. Okay. 24. So I got bad news for you. After you turn 25, your body starts falling apart. So just
it's already there. It's already there. The drugs did not help with that at all. That definitely sped that process up.
So Calgary, that's like kind of where that's like on the western side.
It's in Alberta.
Right.
So we're like one province over from the west coast.
Right. So what population-wise? I think it's a fairly large town, right?
We've got, I think the last count was 2 million people is what we're sitting at now.
So it's huge. So are you like?
Oh yeah, and it's always expanding.
Are you in the suburbs per se, or are you like out in the country, or are you downtown?
We're like southwest area. We live in an apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess sort of, not really suburbs. It's still kind of a sketchy area.
Okay.
I wouldn't exactly describe it as suburban.
Well, I think when you're at that age, I don't think you're expected to be living in a $500,000 house.
Oh no.
So yeah, it makes sense to me. So we talked a little bit about entertainment. Do you have a favorite writer?
Um, I'm not really all that into reading. I read a little bit, mostly like fantasy books when I was a teenager, but I don't really read a whole lot. I mostly watch TV shows and stuff like that. As soon as we got Netflix, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch stuff.
All right. So far, what's your favorite series that you've seen that was completed? Right. It's not something that's still ongoing, but what's your favorite television series that you've watched, that you've binged on while you're on Netflix?
That's completed. Well, there's a lot of them that I'm watching that are still going. I'd have to say Merlin would be one of my favorites, because I was watching it as it was coming out on TV, and then as soon as we got rid of cable, I just couldn't watch it anymore until they put out more seasons and put it on Netflix. So I finished watching it on there.
Yeah. So all right.
Stuff.
Well, yeah. All right. So let me ask you this, because I think you might be able to answer this question. Who is your favorite Game of Thrones character, and why?
I'm actually only like 2.5 seasons in.
Okay. Well, you can still have a favorite character.
Oh God, what is her name? It's been like a month since I watched anything. I can't remember what her name. The Mother of Dragons.
Oh, Daenerys Stormborn. Yeah.
Yes, Daenerys.
Yeah. Breaker of Chains.
I love her character.
Yeah, very strong. In the books, she's only like 14 years old when all that shit happens to her. Yeah, so she's you watch her grow up, and so yeah, exactly. She's so you imagine that kind of strength and in a person that young. Yeah, I recommend catching up with it, because it's I don't know, I love the show, and a lot of people are like, I don't watch it, whatever. I think it's a cool thing to say you don't watch it. I think some of the people that tell me they don't watch it actually do. I think they're liars.
Probably.
Just saying. I'm calling you out, people. All right. All right. So going on, I've got some stuff written out here. What was high school like for you?
I was actually homeschooled from grade 7 through grade 12.
Yeah, it's really good to be hearing this, because I'm hearing this a lot with the younger generation, especially people on YouTube that are that aren't being subjected to the state and their education system. Whether it be the Canadian state or the U.S. state. I don't like the idea of my government dictating what the children should be learning and shit. That's just me,
I mean, that there are base subjects, like core subjects, that you have to take, regardless of whether you're homeschooled or not. You need them. I think it's English, science, math, and social studies are the 4 base courses that you have to take. And then other than that, you can take whatever you want. As long as you get enough credits to graduate, you're good.
Well, that's so. How old were you when you had your requisite to graduate, as it were?
Well, I took an extra year to graduate, so I was 19 when I graduated. I would have been 18 when I graduated if I hadn't taken the extra year.
I think that's a good thing, because I think that a lot of kids When you stick a lot of hormone-filled young people in classes together and expect them to pay attention and learn shit, you're stupid.
Oh yeah.
They're too busy. The boys are trying to impress the girls, whether it's trying to make them laugh or just, trying to be, goofy, manly shit and, beating up other people. And, and the girls are, being giggly, flirty and shit. So, there's not a lot of room for people to get stuff done. And I personally, I always thought that, from the age of like 12 to like 18, that all kids be homeschooled. And then maybe, because at that point, they've gone through like, elementary school and they've got a feel for socialization with other kids and stuff. And then that way, you can develop and focus the curricular, the learning on actually stuff that's important.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think a lot of people came out of public school here not knowing the stuff that they needed to know. It's like in the United States, you can literally walk up to people, especially younger people, I hate to say it, with a map and tell them to show me where this is. Like, show me where Washington, D.C. is, or show me, this or that. And they can't do it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly. And that's sad. You should watch this guy named Mark Dice. I think is his name, and Crowder does it occasionally. Go around and ask people, just your average Joe about some stuff, and it's interesting, what they know and what they don't know. So,
oh yeah, I love watching Crowder. Crowder's great.
But ever since I started talking to you, you struck me as being just a very interesting person and kind of a still waters run deep. Kind of person with me, because and you love to giggle and laugh and stuff, and that's one of the things that wanted me to kind of do this thing that we're doing. So do you have a guilty pleasure, something that like it's hard for you to admit but you actually really love it, and people give you shit for it?
Not really.
Yeah.
I find if I'm just like open about like the stuff that I enjoy, nobody really gives me crap for anything. I don't really do anything outwardly weird. Well, I guess in my mind, outwardly weird.
That's the question, Yeah. So it's interesting because I was going to say, yes, this is coming from a lady that has blue dreadlocks. So it's interesting though, because I think that you're a perfect example of judging a book by its cover is going to be the wrong thing to do, because I don't know, I like kind of like what I'm hearing in you is about the way you see yourself and you see life. Is there a common misconception you think people have of you when they that it's totally wrong, totally off about you?
Well, there's been a few jokes amongst the YouTube friends that I have made that I look like an SJW, and I would say that's probably the first thing. Like, if there's a judging a book by its cover, that would be number one, what I get when people look at me, and number two, depending on how I'm dressed and how my makeup is done, that I'm a punk, or like I'm up to no good, or I'm trouble, or something along those lines.
Well, that's interesting you use that word trouble, because it's like you're a very attractive girl, and I'm sure that people, a lot of guys like give you shit. What is it like out there? Oh, okay, so I learned recently that you're engaged, right?
Yes.
So before you got engaged, what was the dating scene like? What was it like being a young lady in modern times?
Very aggressive.
Okay, you want to?
There was a lot of very perverted guys and girls anywhere I went online, because I don't know if anybody either in the chat or you yourself know what Nexopia is.
I don't. I have no idea.
Essentially, like Twitter and Tumblr had a baby.
Yeah, so explore that. Tell me what, I don't know what that means.
Well, it's a social media website. You make your own little forum and your own little page. So it's kind of like Tumblr or Facebook or MySpace or something like that, where you have your own page. And you can follow or friend other people. People can message you, send you pictures. You can post pictures, make posts, whatever. Have like a blog thing. But that was definitely where I got most of the weirdest messages I think I've ever gotten in my life. And that was at a time when I probably shouldn't have been on that website.
So you want to give an example? You can. Hey, look. You can say whatever you want to. There's
the one that comes to mind. And keep in mind, I was still under 16 at this point when I got this message. And this guy was a fair amount older than me. I don't even remember what his username was, but I will never forget this message. He never even said hello. All he said was, "Would you like to go on webcam with me and watch me come in my mouth while I stick 3 fingers up my ass?" And I'm sitting there just going, whoa, what the fuck? Back
shit.
the fuck up.
Dude, that is fucked up. Man.
I know.
Crazy.
And this is like a 20-something-year-old guy talking to a 15-year-old girl on a website.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, pervs, man. Yeah, I figured it would be something along those lines.
Oh yeah, it was weird. And I mean, I didn't really, because I did have like social stuff that I did outside of my schoolwork. I was in martial arts and I went swimming, and we had a thing called teen night at a couple of the different pools that we have in the city every Friday. It was like everybody between the ages of 12 and 17. And there's like lifeguards and security everywhere and whatever, so there's no touching or whatever. Yeah, no, that didn't fucking work.
All right, no, back that up. All right, martial arts. So talk to me about that. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, I took Aikido from I think I was 14 till I was 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you do like a roundhouse kick and kick a person's phone, or kick them in the face while you're trying to kick their phone out of their hand, like that dude claimed he did? Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I did see that video. That was
God, what a jerk! Yeah, that was bullshit. So, all right, so how far did you advance in Aikido? That's awesome.
Oh God, what belt did I end at? I think I was a blue belt.
Oh
so
wow.
There's white, yellow, green, blue, and then purple, brown, black.
Oh wow.
So I got pretty high up, and then I just decided that I needed to focus myself on other things.
That's wild, because that so you can pretty much kick somebody's ass if you need to.
Well, Aikido isn't really an aggressive martial art. It's more so defensive. So it's basically using the inertia from an attack from someone else,
right,
to disarm them or get them away from you or pin them down or something to stop it. It's a de-escalation. Right.
So if you're attacked, you can defend yourself pretty aptly.
Yeah,
except if it's a gun or some shit. I would say you definitely, do what the person with the gun says, because I wouldn't recommend don't try to kick anybody's ass, because that shit's going to end up wrong. I don't know, guns kind of complicate things sometimes criminally.
Well, and it's funny, there's actually been studies done that have shown that someone is more likely to comply with someone with a knife than with a gun.
Interesting. Well, that's something I'll look into, that, because that's interesting. I that hadn't come across my thing, and that does, it's like, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I
knife
think
versus gun.
Well, I think people are more scared of a blade than they are of, because there's so many different things that you can do with a knife, but a gun only shoots one way.
Right.
If you can get that thing away from them and start running, by the time they grab it, you'll be gone.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, yeah, that makes that actually starting to make sense to me now. So let's see. And then, so you had the pool thing. Tell me, all right, what was this? Would this happen like during the winter time, and you would be inside, or was this like a year-round thing? You know what I'm saying? Outside.
Yeah, it was year-round. So it was in just like a community center kind of thing, where they've got like a gym and like different classes, and then they've got like the big wave pool with like all the water park and stuff inside.
Oh, cool.
And they would just they would kick everybody out that was over the age of 18 or under the age of 12, or over the age of 17, sorry, and under the age of 12, at around 7 o'clock, and then they would go till, I think it was like 10 when the pool closed, and they would just have like music. They had like a DJ set up and a dance floor and all this other stuff. It got a little messy and weird because, well, like you said, a bunch of hormone-filled kids.
Right, running around half naked. Right, exactly.
Yeah. There was a few people that got banned for doing things they probably shouldn't have been.
That's crazy. So did you meet your fiance online? Or did
no, actually. We met at a bar that is actually now closed, sadly.
Tell me about it.
Well, I had just recently started getting into the rave scene in Calgary, and he was in it as well. And I decided this bar was having a zombie themed night. So everybody in costume, and there was like a costume contest and prizes and drink deals and all this fun stuff. And so I show up, and Clay is hanging out with his friend Elvie, who is actually the girl that's done my tattoos. But the night that I met them, I thought they were dating, so I didn't even go anywhere near him. So I was like, no, okay, he's already got a girlfriend, whatever, it's fine. And then the next week, it was actually turned out to be a friend's birthday the night that we met, and the following week we went back to the same bar, and I ended up going home with him because I found out him and Elvie were not dating. They were just trying to make his crazy ex stay away.
Ah,
he was there as well,
right?
So they were just trying to play the jealousy game. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And so that happened, and funny enough, that the night that I went home with him, we both said fuck relationships, because we'd both recently, like within the last 6 months, gotten out of relatively long-term relationships. And then the following week we started dating.
So
and now it's been like 6 years.
Oh wow, okay, so y'all been together a while. So is there a plan for is he gonna put a ring on it? That's my question.
Oh, there's already a ring.
All right.
We just don't have a wedding date yet.
Well, you can always go down to City Hall, while it's still legal.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So, was it like living in Canada with all this, the language police and all the shit that's starting to creep over from Great Britain? Idealistically from the far right, far left.
I haven't really noticed a huge difference because we don't really have. I don't really say too much that would get me into too much trouble, other than on Twitter. And cops here aren't going to get involved in a Twitter fight unless somebody's making legitimate threats.
Right.
And I don't really socialize with a lot of people outside the online sphere, so I tend to keep myself out of trouble with things that I might say. Personally, anyways. I think it's kind of bullshit, all of it. I think you should be able to say, obviously outside of threats of personal harm, you should be able to say whatever the fuck you want.
I agree.
And people interfering with that is wrong. It's just wrong. There's no easier way to say that.
I tell you. So, what is your favorite thing about living in Canada?
There really isn't a favorite. It's not that great. I guess high minimum wage
Right?
would be about it. But like everything's expensive here. Our cigarettes suck. Our liquor's expensive. Transit is expensive. Living is expensive.
So, wow. So, what's the worst part about living in Canada, in your opinion?
Well, right now, our very open border policy, no thanks to the pretty boy in office.
You a big fan of Trudeau? That you saying?
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm his biggest fangirl.
No doubt. Oh, no doubt.
The man has got a degree in, I think it was education and theater.
Well, that makes sense,
And
though.
that's it.
Doesn't that make sense, though? You know what I'm saying?
Well, for a politician, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I think he thought that because his daddy ran the country for a few years that he could handle it, and he's doing a piss poor job, in my opinion.
I was just thinking. So, do you plan on maybe at some point in the future coming and living in the United States? Does that ever cross your mind?
It's crossed my mind a few times, but I feel like trying to get a work visa and the fact that I think my biggest roadblock would probably be the fact that I use medical cannabis. And if they ever got the inkling to look into my medical history, they would see that on my medical history because I use legal medical cannabis, so it's on my medical records.
Right. That's what I'm going to say.
And
So it's legal.
And it's federally illegal for you guys. So the federal government would look at that and go, no.
Right.
And you're banned.
That's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But that's something we all got to deal with, you know. But I understand. You know, I deal with chronic pain, so it's challenging, especially when the best treatment for you is not available because it's illegal. So do you see yourself getting married and having children with this guy? Does the idea of marriage appeal to you?
The idea of marriage does. Children, not so much.
Mm-hmm. It's not a very at this point, you know, I'm hearing a lot of that same type of attitude about children.
Well, because it's not really expected of couples anymore to have the nuclear family, except for in certain circles. It's like, okay, well, you do what's good for you. If you don't want to have kids, then that's fine. If you do, then that's also fine.
Well, you know, it's interesting because Uzi and I got a lot of pressure, to do that. And do the kid thing, and it would be like, her mom would hint to, she wanted to be a grandmother and all this shit. So finally, our siblings did the job for us, and so, everybody's off our backs and shit now. But, there's always going to be a strong push for that. So, I don't know. But it's like you said. I think you've hit the nail on the head, though. Societally, it's being drummed out, and that's I don't know. I don't think that's a good thing. I think that and I'm not passing any judgment on any people. I think as a whole, The nuclear family is something that we need to, hold on to, as a free society, because that's one of the tenets of socialism is to, the state's your family, your government, your father, and your country's your mother, and that's that's the way that they've always, they always bring that about. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So, what's the weirdest thing that you've seen on YouTube?
Weirdest thing that I've seen on YouTube. I'm not too sure about that, because my level of weird is definitely a lot different than most people's. I would say probably the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared series is one of the weirdest things that I've seen as far as YouTube goes.
Tell me about that. I don't know what you're talking about. Sounds like something I want to see.
Definitely look into it. They're coming out with a new season soon here. It's basically like Muppets on acid. It looks like a children's show. And when it opens up, it's all happy and colorful, and there's these colorful, happy puppets, and like a talking notebook and a talking clock, and like everything's happy and colorful, and then it just goes dark. Like straight down the rabbit hole, Bad Trip style.
Wow. Yeah,
they're like talking about different things. And do you know who Matt Cat is? Like the film and game theorist?
That's a familiar name.
Yeah.
What do they do?
He has done a theory on it, actually breaking down the series and what it's talking about. And it's actually really, really interesting to see his ideas on it. And I guess he's talked to the guy that created it, and a lot of what he theorized is accurate.
Right.
Very, very accurate. Because he looks into stuff really deeply. And he can kind of pick these things out. Like, he's gone over Salad Fingers, he's gone over Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, he's gone over every video game you can probably think of, different movies, TV shows. He even did a couple videos on Markiplier. And his different little characters that he does. But yeah, the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, it's, they go over, like, different topics. The first one is creativity, and I think the second one, oh god, what was the second one? They've got one on creativity, time, eating right, that kind of thing, and they just take it to the darkest place possible. The one on eating right, one of them gets opened up with a can opener and like turned into food.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Oh, it gets really, really dark and fucked up. It's really cool.
That's crazy. I gotta check that out. I really do. Because there's the YouTubeosphere has got some really weird shit on it. I mean, my God. All right, so, all right, in your opinion, who is an overrated YouTuber and has too many subs in your mind?
Onision.
Okay, that was easy, wasn't it? Yeah.
Onision. He's a little douchebag. He's creepy. He creeps on his underage fucking fans and does the rape me shit, and it's just creepy, disturbing, and he's really annoying. God,
it's kind of kinky at that. It's like when you said that, I'm like, yeah, you hit the nail right on the head for me.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, well, let's flip that. And who is somebody you think is criminally undersubbed and needs, people should really pay more attention to them and, and check their content out.
Undersubbed. I'm trying to think of smaller YouTubers that I watch. Definitely Magog of Morscar. I know he's already sitting at 26,000 after a year and a half, but that man needs more love.
I feel you.
He's putting everything, his heart and soul, into his channel and his upcoming projects, and he needs more people behind him because he's doing some really incredible shit.
Yeah, he's talented, and I think he's just naturally just very funny guy.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and he's a great person. You know, when he's not in character, he's a really nice guy, and you know he should be in all our thoughts and people because he's going through some shit right now. His family's not, having some pain.
Yeah, with his sister.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw that yesterday, and I just kind of stopped for a minute and went, "Whoa."
Yeah, that's hard. That's painful and hard. Okay, what about somebody that's like under a 1K? Give some of these smaller people that you hang out with some love.
Definitely Pickle that is in the chat.
Yes.
And Mr. Trippy. And I don't know what Adamantine's sitting at for subs, but I think he could use a little more attention.
Yeah, I agree with all three of those criminally undersubbed people, and they need new eyes on them, man. Because I think, I think the skeptosphere is changing into something else, and I think
it really is.
And I think that I'm gonna do something about that, and maybe in a little bit after I do this, but we finish this up. But anyway, I think that everything's having to change, but just because of the nature of stuff. I think that the political, the U.S. midterm election is going to be, somewhat prominent. I think people are going to, ramp up, probably go in a more political direction for a lot of the quote skeptics, and I think the rest are going to either fizzle out and die because they don't know what to do, or because the secret to this thing is creativity. And I think that creative people have a higher, a little more of an edge, and just staying consistent with, coming up with new ideas. So, what's your favorite video game?
Skyrim.
All right.
Skyrim and Assassin's Creed 2.
All right, tell me about Skyrim, because I hear Skyrim, and the other one is Warframe. So you don't know Warframe, so tell me about Skyrim. Tell me why I should get that. Why should I get that?
It's completely open world. I would definitely get the Legendary Edition with the DLC already on the disc, so you don't have to pay for the DLC extra.
What's the DLC? I don't know any of this shit.
It's downloadable content. It's stuff that they add extra on top of it. They add extra storylines and stuff, and new features, and different types of armor, new characters, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, so what? I was gonna go. Yeah, so. I lost the question somehow. So all right, going back, you were we got a couple minutes here. Talk about what you're seeing coming up new and television. Like what are you really into right now? Because the new fall season really begins tonight, and so we've got some new stuff and old stuff to look at. So, what are you looking forward to this season?
As far as TV goes, or?
Yeah.
Well, I don't currently have cable.
Right.
Because I think it's kind of a waste of money if I already have internet and Netflix and YouTube and all that other shit.
Right. Do you have,
so the upload schedule is a little bit different.
Can you get local television?
I'm honestly not sure. I haven't tried hooking up the TV just directly to the cable.
Right.
So I'm honestly not sure.
Well, I was going to say, because there's like the CW and Gotham are still available on local television, which is I'm a big fan of Gotham. I really love what that show's been doing, and they canceled Lucifer. Let's see.
Yeah, I know they did. Don't remind me.
And the CW stuff. Well, they kind of went. Second. Third season started getting a little...
I haven't seen the newest season that's up on Crave yet.
Right.
And I'm not sure which season that is.
Right.
It's either season 3 or season 4 that I haven't seen yet. I think I've seen the first 2.
Right. Did you see The Mom?
Yes.
Yeah, so, all right, so that's season 2, and then season 3 kind of got weirder. But, yeah, I think that after season 2, they just... I don't know. It just started getting to be a little like repetitive. It's kind of like Walking Dead. It's Walking Dead now is I think locked in this like this like loop, right? Where it's like, okay, the new baddie is okay, we're trying to do civilization, and there's a bad person that's got their own weird concept of what civilization should look like, and then their people and your people have war, go at each other, and and it's over and over again. So it's like the governor, and then Negan, and then there's somebody else, and there's somebody else, and there's somebody else. Because I read the comics, I know what's coming up, right? And so they're in the post Negan era, and if you know the books, this is when they get into the Whisperers. So, and that's something I kind of did dig, was the idea of the way the Whisperers like dealt with shit. I'll tell you this because I'm not giving anything away. They take corpses and they skin them. And they dry out their skins and then wear them, right? And blend in with the zombie hordes, right? And when they get people, they go after them. They use knives and shit to kill them. But I'm not sure if they're eating them. They never said anything about that. But anyway, so I digress. But that's keep an eye out because they're creepy looking, and it's a nice little twist. And their whole idea is very, very Darwinian, kind of cavemanish type shit.
Oh, cool.
So we're looking at the last couple of minutes of the show. Have you got anything that you want to talk about that you wanted to touch on before we will say goodbye?
I don't know if there's anybody in the Calgary area in the chat or anything, but there's a haunted house starting next weekend at COP at the Windsport thing called Grim Manor. If you want to come check it out, I'll be scaring bitches all month.
Cool. What are you going to be dressed as?
I am playing the part of a witch in the new area. This is actually a new area where they've got the haunt set up this year. And they've got 3 separate houses. They've got one that's all ages, one that is 13 plus, and I believe the Salem area will also be 13 plus. At least recommended.
Cool. So that sounds like you're going to have a lot of fun doing that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Last year was my first year doing it, and I'm definitely excited to be back this year.
Well, I love Shocktober, and so I'll be. I've got a couple of. I'm going to be doing some stuff on YouTube. I've got a couple of top 5 lists that I'm going to be putting out. That's part of the Hot Take show, but it's the stuff I'm going to be doing solo without Big Fat Brian. And I think he and I will be doing something else. As a matter of fact, speaking of Brian, I'll be interviewing. He will be in this seat next week. Let's see, the next couple weeks of Ice Cream will be Blind Press. So it's Canadian Chick Month here, Shocktober. Blind Press. One of my newer friends A fantastic person. She's very, very, very intelligent. Had a great thing on Star Wars and Star Trek last night that nobody watched, but it was fantastic. I recommend people check that out. And then the week after that, it'll be Trippy Poop. And then the first exactly, and then the first 2 weekends, Sunday the 4th of November, it'll be Weebo Jones, and then Skep Talk after that. Yeah. So, and tomorrow night, Irate Monday, of course, you know, we'll be doing what we do there. We will be featuring Blind Press's new segment, The Blind Side. Sarah Mantine and I. Yeah, it's going to be fun. So, with that said, I think we've reached the end of our little journey here. I guess without any further delay, let's just go ahead and thank everybody. Thank Brooke for coming in and kind of revealing a little bit of herself to us. She did a great job. I can tell that you're used to being interviewed like this, and it really shows. So it's your road to fame is assured, and I'm being totally facetious with you. I think you did a great job, and for your first interview, you were right on the mark. So, and I do want to thank everybody that came out. For some reason, it's been a weird kind of busy Sunday, but like I said, we'll see you next week with Big Fat Brian. And on that, this is Irate. Say goodbye, lovely Brooke.
Bye, guys.
And this is Irate Prostate saying I'm OUT for today, and I'll see y'all later. Whipped cream coming up, I think.